Hey, folks, welcome back to the Hope Changes Everything podcast. This is episode number 6. We're glad to have you with us today. And with us again today is Pam Gould. She's Executive Director of STEP, which is the Strategic Twin Counties Education Partnership.
There you go.
That's a mouthful, but it's awesome.
That's why we call it STEP.
Yeah, that's right. And Pam has been involved / spearheading efforts in our area to really increase literacy in particularly with our younger kids, right? And really making our school system effective across the board. And you're bringing everybody to the table, the districts, the community colleges, right, all the nonprofits, all those guys.
Cross county, bringing them to our table.
Yeah,
yes.
to try to make a real impact. And on our last episode, you and I were going through some stats that are compiled by My Future NC, who has done a lot of work in this area. And we were looking at the stats for our 2 counties. And some of it, is pretty good. And then some of it is really startling and challenging. And we were talking about the literacy rates last time. This, if we could look for a second at the math performance for the 2 counties, in Nash County, when we're talking about all 3rd to 8th graders, there's 17% of them that are doing math at a college and career ready level. And then for Edgecombe County, that's 15%. So 17 to 15%.
Right.
And again, those are not the numbers that we would hope to have when we're talking about 21st century workforce, right?
Right. And the state average is 35. So
yeah,
the state has a long way to go too.
Right.
Which I kind of question, is there an issue with testing too? But yeah, that's another day.
But even so, we're behind the state.
We are.
And so we need to look at it. And I was looking at graduate degrees in our 2 counties. And in Nash County, 7% of our population has a graduate degree. In Edgecombe County, 4%. Right. That was just really surprising to me.
Well, it is, but it also kind of aligns with our labor market. I mean, we're not the research triangle, right?
Right.
So there's not this huge demand for graduate degrees, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So Pam, if I say, okay, I hear you. I hear that our kids are struggling. I hear that particularly our kids that are coming from under-resourced households or that go to school in a lower income neighborhood, I know that they're struggling more on average. And I understand that needs to be a priority. I understand that I need to be part of the solution. Where do I start?
Yeah. Yeah. I say, if I look at, let's just take a typical 5-year-old and all the people that come in contact with a 5-year-old, it may be a faith-based organization. It may be a neighborhood organization, maybe grandparents, the doctor's office, all those places that come in contact with either a child that age or their parents somehow. I think they all have a way to kind of bring literacy into their environment, or to make it a topic of discussion, or that there's books there.
Mm-hmm.
Books with characters that look like those kids.
Right.
Where they can see themselves. So I think that those are simple things. Those are easy.
Yeah.
Tell me what book you've been reading.
Yeah.
Not what did you do in school today? How was your day at school? But what are you reading? I remember years ago we had a superintendent in Edgecombe County, and he'd say, "Hey, nice to meet you. What book are you reading?" He didn't care who he was meeting. And you better have a title ready. Like I would go, "Oh my gosh, if I see, so and so, I'm ready."
Yeah.
I know what I'm reading, right?
Yeah.
But it needs to be just that important.
Sure.
I wish now you see kids in the grocery store everywhere with a tablet in their hand. Man, I wish it was,
Yeah.
Now it's great if they're reading from that tablet, but they're usually not. They're
Right.
usually playing a game
playing
or
a
watching
game.
a video.
Yep.
But man, wouldn't it be great to say, "Here, let me give you a book," and that would be the norm, right?
Yep. One thing back when early days of Peacemakers, we read a stat that said kids from low income families on average have between 0 and 2 age appropriate books in their home.
Isn't that crazy?
And I was like, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing we did was we started these monthly book parties where, a group of kids come in, they eat pizza, they do some activities, and then they get to pick out books. And
Right.
they take out 5 books and they take them home, and we don't want them to bring them back.
Right.
We want them to keep them.
Exactly.
And the idea is that over the course of a year, they're building up a library in their home of age appropriate stuff, and they've picked them out. So hopefully they want to read them, and so more leisure time to spend on reading.
I think about, I used to kind of go around to yard sales,
Mhm.
and you'd go and there'd be a whole box of books, and she'd go, "If you'll take them, you can have them for $5." And I just thought, what if everybody that has all these books that they're going to sell on yard sales, don't sell them at yard sales,
Right.
bring them to Peacemakers.
Just give them away. Yeah.
Just come bring them to Peacemakers, and we're going to give them out to whoever needs them. So,
and it costs us basically nothing to do it.
Right.
Because people donate.
And
the
people
books
want to get rid of those books because their kids have outgrown them. Okay, we'd love to take them. Bring them to STEP. Our offices are on the 2nd floor of the train station.
Yeah.
But going back to what people can do, that's just a simple, easy personal thing. But I think our employers can really push that message out to their employees that we hope your kids are reading, or books, anything about pushing literacy. And then those that feel the need to do something more, schools are always looking for volunteers to serve as tutors. North Carolina Education Corps has a presence here in Edgecombe County where they train and pay tutors to work with those that need a little extra, and it's making a difference. They were in 3 schools last year, and I think Dr. Bryan said they were adding 2 to 3 more schools of tutors to come in and help, because it's big. And they need that little extra. And
could a business, say, okay, to its employees, you can have one day,
absolutely,
to go, or you can have one afternoon.
Hour, or one afternoon.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. I mean, because it's going to take an army. It's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
But I think our faith-based organizations, our churches, there's ways where they could train people within their congregation who could then go out and work with the kids and open their doors on the weekend, or open their doors after school for them to come in, get a snack and do a little reading activity and what have you, or even be read to.
Yep.
Man, didn't you love that when people would read to people that listen to podcasts? That's kind of like what's happening. Somebody's reading to you.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I just think it just makes a big difference.
Yeah. And it does need to be a massive effort, though.
It does.
At some point, even to make a dent in it locally, it can't be one little Sunday school class
It
going out and
cannot.
doing this. It's got to be.
It has to be, we're taking this on.
Yeah.
This is important. We're taking this on. We're making it our business, and we are going to take our little piece of it. When you look at the whole structure of My Future in C, they are the state, then the 15 local collaboratives, that's your little piece of it. But then within our community, there has to be a whole lot of people that take their little piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can make the appeal that everybody needs to care for, economic reasons, and that kind of thing. But I always say Pam, first of all, I really don't want people looking at our kids and pitying them.
Right.
I want them to look at little Pam and say, you know what, Pam, I know that you've got gifts and talents inside
Yes.
of you that we need, that
Right.
I need,
Right.
right? That
Right.
we as a community need.
Mhm.
And if you don't thrive, if you don't flourish,
Right.
then we're all going to miss out on what you have to offer,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's important to me that you succeed.
That's right. That's right. I was in education for 30 years, and now going into soon my 8th year here. So it's kind of been my business for a long time, and I've been exposed to thousands and thousands of students. Thousands. They all have a gift,
Mhm.
and sometimes they just need opportunity. They
Right.
need a hand up.
Yeah.
They need polishing.
Yeah.
Um,
They need somebody to come alongside them and invest time,
absolutely.
right? Time is
Yeah.
like the thing.
Absolutely.
In our society, maybe time's the most valuable thing, but for kids, I always talk about when you're talking about a mentoring program or something like that, everybody says, okay, I'll do this once a week, and take this kid. Yeah, but the kid needs to see you 4 times a week, really.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And so can we find people to make that kind of investment?
Right.
Can we get our retirees engaged?
Right.
Right, that really have so much to offer our kids.
Absolutely.
Those kinds of things, I think, is where we need to really put a
Yeah.
lot of thought and effort
Yeah.
to mobilize.
Right. And I think we just naturally think about reaching them at school because that's where they are a majority of the time. But, there's other ways and other places that kids are. I mean, they're at the rec center. Like, do their coaches talk to them about making sure they're making really good grades?
Right.
What are you reading? What books are you reading? Like, putting it on everybody's mind that it is this and reading, this and school, this and education,
So in between the end of school and the start of football practice, can we have a study hall together? Or
Right,
work together,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Pam, it's always great to talk to you. Appreciate you being here with
Absolutely.
us. And we're going to see you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you a lot. Thank you guys for joining us today on the Hope Changes Everything podcast. We'll see you next time.